normally is a very dangerous thing to do while you're standing in front of a lot of people, and I'm going to try to do a demo. Those of you who have ever tried this before know that even just saying the word demo a lot of times screws up the whole thing. The gods are listening, you say demo, you're going to, but I'm going to try. And I'm actually going to have all of you participate in the demo. So like mass hypnosis, just kidding. But everyone who has a cell phone, smartphone, you're going to participate, so stand by. But before I get started, let me just go through a couple of slides here. I promised I only have 300 or 400 slides. It's not going to take too long. So myself, background is I originally got started with Heath kits. How many people here know Heath kits are? Okay, so I know how old you are. Heath kits were popular in the 70s, so I did a lot of that. But then I ended up in software. I started a company called Antenna Software in 1998. Raised a whole pile of money to start that company because back then you had to raise a lot of money to pay to Microsoft and Sun and those guys. We raised $17 million in 2001. About 2 years later, I realized I could have started the company for $10,000 because of open source software came out. Everything that I had to build from scratch was now available for free, which was a sobering moment. And so Antenna Software went on. We sold it to Pegasystems last year. But when I started Buglabs, which is in 2006, the idea was to bring open source principles to the hardware world. So we got started right around the same time as Arduino. I won't go into all the history of Bug because it plays out a lot like I think hardware startups play out. It's very hard, and I've got all kinds of scars on my back that I'd be happy to talk about. But that's not why I'm here. What I'm here to talk about is what we're doing now. We don't really do hardware anymore. We do occasionally design hardware, but we don't sell our own hardware anymore. What we focus on is software. Because one of the things that we found in terms of a pivot was that most companies that we were working with were designing and building hardware and connecting it to networks. And then once they got it connected to the network, they wanted to do something with that hardware, right? And so the pieces and parts to do all of that was very complicated. It's still very complicated. So that's where we focus. I wrote a book, it was published about a year ago, called Social Machines, and that sort of articulates a little bit of the things that we've been working on. But everyone knows what the Internet of Things is. I'm speaking quickly because I want to get to the demo, or whatever it's called. Everyone's heard of this, right? There's lots of fancy acronyms and phrases about it. But the problem with the Internet of Things in general is that it's hype land right now. I don't know if you guys listened to Gartner. Last year they came out with this, which is called the hype cycle. And if you look at all the things that are coming and going, this has been around for lots of years, and people talk about it. So you have the peak of inflated expectations followed by the trough of disillusionment. You can sort of see where things are now. So the Internet of Things is getting to the top. This is last July, getting to the top of the peak, and then 3D printing, by the way, last year was right at the top. Now, Bree, I got some bad news. It's you got this downhill slide here, trough of disillusionment. Now, you can believe this or not, but the point is that there's a huge amount of hype right now in what I'm talking about, which is the Internet of Things. So for those of you who are building things and connecting to the network, or are working with companies who are trying to connect things to networks, you, I think, are realizing this. It's a lot harder than you thought it was, just because many times I believe people conflate the Internet of Things with the Internet itself. And as we've talked about, there's lots of people doing hardware here. Hardware is hard, and things are hard. Atoms and bits, all the friction that entails. So when we talk to our customers and analysts and so on, I think there's this need to try to figure out, okay, how do we try to avoid this in such a way that we don't really stumble on ourselves. So what Buglabs has been doing, well, that's the problem I just said. I'm not going to, I'll get to that later. So what Buglabs has been doing lately has been building software that tries to make it faster and easier to connect things to networks and then do something with that device once it's connected. And what we talk about is this idea of a Dropbox moment right now where, you think about Dropbox, they didn't really invent cloud storage, they just made it easy. They didn't come up with brand new ways of doing a lot of things. They used technology which already existed and just made it super simple. And our impression is that there's the same opportunity now within the Internet of Things where you can provide on-ramps for organizations, entrepreneurs, and others to connect devices and then do stuff with them very quickly. And so without further ado, I will show you. So I need to switch this to a browser. Can I do that? All right. So we came out with this product called Dweet. And yes, it sounds like tweet because it is actually in many ways like Twitter for devices. And so what I want all of you guys to do is to take out a smartphone and go open a browser and go to dweet.io. Okay? And my compatriot back there, Steve, is going to do this. And I know his works, so this is, but anybody can participate. Now, what will happen, you'll see this website. I'm going quickly here so I can take questions. For some reason, this is not rendering. You'll get to a website, you'll say, try it now, and then click that button, okay? And what you'll get on your phone is a little box, just like this, and it'll populate with information. This is the laptop, so the laptop is now publishing its lat long. I'm not sure how that happened, but anyway, maybe it's through the Wi-Fi. It's also its mouse, XY. So right now, by just going to the website, my browser on my laptop is publishing this information about itself. So all of you, if you're doing this, if you see this box, you'll see XYZ as an axis. If you move your phone around and stare at the screen, you'll notice that that XYZ axis is changing. If you have your location services turned on, you'll also see that the location lat long is on there. Okay? So what Dweet is doing is it's saying, hey, I've got this device that came to me. It's requesting to publish the information. And so what I'm going to do, what Dweet's going to do is it's going to give you a special funny URL. And so you got dweet.io/follow/unsuitable pen. Okay, so that's this device's name. Okay, so now, Steve, what's the name of your device? Hurt Push. Okay. Now, so I have no control over these names. They're generated automatically. And I was standing in front of I think it was a CTO of British Petroleum. I was showing it to his group, and the name I got was Weak Balls. It was a demo gods again. Okay, so what was it? Hurt Push. Okay, so now what I can do is I'll go up here to my line. I'll say follow hurt dash push. Okay. So now here's his phone. So Steve, if you move your phone around, whatever, it has to be. You got to get the browser. So that's him. That's his location. That's his mouse, right? And so anyone else give me their name, we can follow it. Various actor. Various actor. Various dash actor. I'm doing this just to prove that my guy there is not a various actor. All right, there's your phone, right? So I can be in Singapore, you guys can be here, and I can literally follow your device. And I'm showing this because I'm using smartphones because it proves a point. I wouldn't really sit here and follow your phone, right? But the fact of the matter is that another machine can come here and actually follow another device. So you have this concept where a device can follow another device and share information very simply. And there was no setup, there was no registration, there's no cost, there's no fancy headers. Just come to this website and it'll give you what you're looking for, which is a way to communicate. And so just to, if you scroll down this website, all the code that's necessary to do this with an Arduino or any of the devices is all available here. It's all free. If you want to, the quid pro quo here though is that if you want to make it private, it's like GitHub, you buy a lock, and the lock is 99 cents a month. Okay, so now we have something we're talking to. Now, this is a product we literally launched today. It's called Freeboard. We launched it into public beta. And what Freeboard now allows us to do is to build an interface to a connected device by using a sort of a widget approach. So now I'll use Steve again. I'm going to go here. I'm going to create an interface to Steve's phone. Okay, I'm going to call it Steve. It's connecting. All right, so now I get a blank canvas. I'm going to add a data source. Now in this case, I can connect in lots of different ways, but I'm going to use Dweet because that's sort of the integrated approach now. Dweet, this is Steve. And his name, in this case, we know is Hurt Push. Save. All right, so now the back end will start getting updated, hopefully, someday. There it is, okay? So now you see the timestamp. So now the information is getting uploaded to Dweet, right? Now I'll come up and say, all right, I'm going to create a widget. In this case, it's going to be a map. And I'm going to get the data from Steve's phone. I'm going to scroll down here, get latitude, get longitude, say go. All right, and so now what it'll do is it'll take the lat long from his phone and it'll place him right there, 23rd Street. So, you know, the goal here is to say, okay, you got a device, got it online, now I can build an interface. I can keep going. There's lots of different widget types, so I'm going to build it. Now I'm going to say I want to keep track of his acceleration, say. And let's say that Steve is my son, and I want to watch him on his bicycle, and if it gets a big negative value on its x-axis, it means he's had a problem, so I want to just watch that. Okay? So now here's his phone, and this is his, hold on, this browser's giving me a little trouble. Let me make it smaller. All right, so Steve, move your phone around. So the concept is that now you have a location, you have x-axis information, right? And so now I've just built a dashboard on a thing, right? And I can do it for anyone's phone here. So it could be Android, it could be iOS, and so on. But it doesn't have to be a smart device. It can be devices that typically now result in designs for things, some like an Arduino or a 16-bit processor. So what I have over here, this is a development board by a company called Renesas. It's a 16-bit processor, a lot like an Arduino. It's got some sensors built into it. And this is also talking to Dweet. And I believe its name is Excited Society. Don't ask me why. But if I come here and I'll do what I did before, follow excited. I'm hoping it's still online. Come on, baby. Okay, so there it is. So now this is offering things like a light sensor, temperature, XYZ, buttons, potentiometer. And if this thing is still online, I'm sure it is. Should see a change. Let me see here. It's going through this hotspot. Let me just do that. But you see what I'm doing, right? So the idea is that you can get devices online and build interfaces. And so Freeboard can be used for not just simple things, but we can also do fairly complicated things. This is actually a whiskey distillery off the coast of Washington. And this is a PC Arduino that has sensors that are connected to it that monitor things such as the pressure on the pumps, the heaters, and so on. This is something which they literally built over the course of a weekend. Freeboard and Dweet are all available for free. And so they wanted a remote monitoring solution. They built it, they put it up, and now they share it. And so one of the things about Freeboards is that you can share them just by clicking on the link, and then you can say, you know, that URL is specific to that particular dashboard, so you can send it around. Right? So concept is that, as I mentioned earlier, you know, we have spent the past 2 years doing a good book of business working with organizations who are looking to take a device, whatever the device is, get it online and build applications for it. And in many cases, that's a very costly thing, you know, tens of thousands of dollars. Not a lot of organizations really want to spend that money because they want to just understand what the value is prior to spending that money. With this type of approach, where it's literally $0 to get started, our hope is that this kind of friction-free interface now allows innovation to happen from the bottoms up. A lot of less risk is taken when you make these decisions. And so Dweet and Freeboard work together, but they're modular so they can work separately. And then the next version of this is going to have alerts so that if something happens where this device, you know, this pressure goes to a certain number, then you get a text message or what have you. So I'll stop there. But for us, you know, the path to get here, there's a whole lot of learning and a whole lot of understanding of what the problems that are being faced by organizations are who are trying to build not just hardware, but systems together. And so our hope is that these types of tools, as simple as they are, will help unlock some of the innovation that's in organizations and so on. So I'll stop there and take questions. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, let's take maybe 1 or 2 questions, and then we'll go drink.
Ah,
You'll be around, right?
I'm into that.
Can you keep the NSA from getting this?
They're a big client of ours. No.
The question is, can you keep the NSA from getting this?
The answer, I think, is that the data that these things are producing. We have customers who make all kinds of things, everything from frozen yogurt manufacturers to whiskey guys, and they all kind of ask the same questions: is all this data secure? And the answer is yeah. All the security that's available to anybody, any enterprise, is all available to even the simplest applications. So I think the security, the enterprise security stuff has really been taken care of. And so the NSA, I can't tell you anyway if they secret. Totally secret.
That's a true revenue model. All right, thank you so much. I love this. I think this is fantastic.
Thank you.
And you guys have been like real troopers. So this ran a little longer than it usually does. So Peter is going to be around for more questions. We have food over there. We have drinks over here. So please go and knock yourself out. Thank you very much for coming, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.